Hey, welcome to Integrated Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Well, there's a lot going on, isn't there? A storm is coming. Don't quite yet know what kind of storm it's going to be, so we're going to talk about that before I get into it. This video is brought to you by the Stonemont series, my books. If you haven't read them, you should, because they tell you in great detail how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a collapse. What kind of collapse? Well, that's the collapse from the big one, but there are all sorts of collapses, political, financial, and all that. A storm is coming. I put up that short one last night about the raid on Donald Trump's house down in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. It's probably the most unbelievable thing that I've ever seen in my lifetime. A raid on the private home of a former president. I don't know why I got those on. I don't need them. Of a former president, and of course we know exactly what this is about. And I've read and I've watched a number of news sources. And they all say pretty much the same thing, and they're all exactly right. It's the weaponization of law enforcement, of federal law enforcement. It's a weaponization of the Department of Justice. It's a weaponization of in any number of aspects of the government. It's not new. This is not new. The weaponization of law enforcement, of the FBI, of any law enforcement. I mean, ask Randy Weaver, if you could. You know, he's passed. If he thinks that this is the first time the weaponization of law enforcement has happened, ask Koresh. Ask a number of people. It's not, but this is the first time that it's happened. To my knowledge, in my lifetime. Now, somebody said, and I just put up a short one last night, asking, is this going to be what kicks it off? And I got a lot of you responded. You had great responses. I had a lot of other great responses over on American Reversion. I got into it in more detail over there because that's really where we covered the more political stuff, the political aspects of this, which I for the most part keep off of here, because this is going to be about preparedness. But we have to recognize and address the things that cause the need for preparedness. And I got a lot of great comments over on American Reversion. If you're not with us over there, again, you should be. The link is down there. The links for the books, the links for our Patreon channel, the links to get over to American Reversion, they're all down here in the information drop box and also in a pinned comment. So join us over there if you'd like. What's going to happen as a result of this, and how should you prepare for this? Going to get to that in a second. I had one comment that said, and one of our more brilliant members said, well, it's not quite a Fort Sumter moment, but we'll see. That's interesting right there, because when I was thinking about have I ever seen anything like this before? Well, I haven't, but has it happened? Fort Sumter was interesting. Most people think that the Civil War started, the so-called Civil War. It wasn't a Civil War at all, but the War of Northern Aggression began because the South fired on Fort Sumter. Actually, it was cadets from the Citadel manning a shore battery in the Gulf of Charleston, or the port of Charleston, that fired on a resupply ship. And what had happened was that the federal government, big surprise, had gone back on an agreement that had been established and had done something. I won't get into all the details here. I've done it before in other past videos, and I think I'll talk about it in one of the books. The North, the federal government, reneged on an agreement that they had made, essentially forcing the South to respond. Okay, that's what kicked that off. And little things cannot be allowed to go on, or else they become big things. Sometimes they become big things anyway. As a result of that, Abraham Lincoln, the scoundrel that so many people hold in such high esteem because they know so little about him, and because his picture hangs in every library and schoolroom and everything like that, because he saved the Union, ordered the all states to provide 70,000 troops to invade the southern states, which had seceded. Okay, so I would say that was the last time that the government had been weaponized to this extent against an American person, citizen, the American people, because that's what this is about. Make no mistake, this is an attack on the American people. By raiding Trump in this fashion, they have attacked a good portion of the American people. They have thumbed their nose. They have said, this is what we think of you. Here's what we're doing. Now, could this be an exact Fort Sumter moment? Could they be doing this in order to cause a response that they're wanting, that they're prepared for, or not? They may think they're prepared for it, and maybe they're not. Who knows? You don't know until the dance gets started. What will happen as a result of this? Then I'll say what I'm doing, and I'll say what I think, what I suggest you do. There was no reason for a raid. Now, I am familiar. I've been on raids. I've been on federal raids, okay? This is not how this stuff is done. Not with a person of this, unless the person is a flight risk, unless the person is, for whatever reasons, at this level, this is simply not done. It's only been done in the past by this administration with people like Roger Stone and Steve Bannon and people like that. So this is a new chapter in the weaponization of the government against an entire segment of the people. So is there a chance that either they're trying to show their power and destroy Trump, which they're not going to do. I don't think they're going to do it. This guy's just tougher than a nut. And but they're trying to demoralize him. They're trying to, of course, stir up their base ahead of these elections coming up, and they're trying to demoralize those on the other side, those who would support Trump. And the funny thing is this has already caused a lot of people who weren't necessarily big supporters of Trump to become big supporters. Maybe they're not big supporters of Trump, but they certainly don't like what's happening here. And I think Trump has already put out a video, and I've put it up over on the American Reversion Patreon channel. People say, why the Patreon? I put a lot of stuff on the Patreon channels that I can't put on the YouTube, and I know that it just butt hurts the hell out of some people that can't stand that some people have Patreon channels, probably because they don't, and they can't get anybody to join them. But that's what it's for, to put things over on places that we can't put on this channel here. So he's already put up a great video in response of this, and it's over there. And if you're on his Truth channel, you can see it there. What's going to happen? Either, like I said, either they're trying to slam dunk the other side, or they're trying to cause a response to use, much like they did the picnic in January in DC, to show, open whatever. I'm not going to say the words here because it's going to flag it. You're afraid to say the words. No, I'm smart. They're going to use that, or they're gonna try to inflame a response. See, that's what I'm getting at. Now, is there going to be a response? I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't think so. And many of the people, because in last night's video, which I saw was only 38 seconds, I think it's the shortest I've ever. I can't take a sip of coffee in 38 seconds. For those of you who know me and know how slow I usually talk. I don't think there's going to be a response. As much as we've heard for so many years from the people that say they will stand up, and we need to stand up, and we need to do this, and they don't know, they've underestimated the American people. They're going to be surprised when the blowback comes, right? I don't believe it. I don't believe it's going to happen at all, because regardless of all the people who have gone out and bought the tools of freedom, pretty much certain that they'll never have to use them for the things they talk about. And all the people that are out there all tacked up and talking a good game and got all the t-shirts. It reminds me a lot of the old gang fights in high school. And I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember gang fights or ever even heard of them. Some of you probably did, depending on what part of town you lived in. Back in the late 60s, there would occasionally be gang fights between high schools. And the word would start bubbling around, oh, there's going to be a gang fight with Southeast High School. All right, man. And man, I mean, by the and usually it would be a couple of days away to let everybody get ginned up and ready and all that like that. And guys would be it'd bubble, it'd boil, it'd all this, and people would be talking about it and all this, and guys would be getting chains and bike chains and baseball bats and stuff like that and putting them in their cars, in the trunk of the cars. And man, I mean, you would have thought it was going to be a war. And I mean, the place where it was going to be, you could just picture a field of beaten, bloody bodies all over the place, ripped up with chains and knives and everything in the world. And when the time came for everybody to meet at the spot where you're going to meet for your school, and then drive en masse, in force, to the battlefield, there's about 20 showed up. Yeah, that's right. About 20. I've seen it happen more than once. You get there, about 20 other people. And you know who they were that showed up? It wasn't all the ones who were stirring the shit. It was the real fighters who really hadn't said much all about it. But when they heard about the fight coming, and you know what? It was usually instigated not necessarily by them, occasionally by a leader of one of the schools that just wanted to, and the ones who showed up had not been talking about it. They hadn't been. It was all those others that didn't show up that had been talking. Growl, growl, growl. We're mean. We're gonna do it. And and then when you get to the place to where the big gang fight was supposed to be, there'd be 20, 25 from the other school. These were huge schools. I think the same thing's going to happen with this. I don't think there's going to be any pushback at all. And as a result, and you see my disappointment now, there will be some political pushback. It depends on who gets the majority in Congress in this election in a few months. But to what extent there will be pushback there, somebody said on some, I forget what it was one of the news articles I read, and I go down, I read the comments, because that way I get a sense. I sometimes read comments. I read all the comments on my videos. I read a few comments sometimes on other channels. I don't watch very many channels. If I watch 2 videos a day from other channels, that's about it. And they're from people that I particularly like, and it's like I like to spend my day, a few minutes with them. And but I don't watch very many other channels, and so I don't read many comments. But when I do, I do read a lot of rough. And but then I read the comments of the news articles, because you get a little broader spectrum there. And one of the comments on was about McCarthy making a statement telling Merrick Garland, save all of your records and clear your calendar, because we're going to have a major investigation of everything that led up to this. And a guy says, and he's exactly right, he says, a threat from McCarthy is no threat at all. So what kind of storm do I think is coming? I don't think there's going to be... I think that Trump's going to push back. I think people are going to get really, really upset. Really upset. Is it going to have an effect on the fall election? I don't know. But are people going to do any more than that? No. They're going to talk about... They better not do one more thing. Okay. A line in the sand. You know what happens with a line in the sand, right? When the wind blows, the line ain't there anymore. But the storm that will be coming is if there is not sufficient pushback. This is just the beginning of the greater storm that's coming. So, what do we do? I'll insert something here before what do we do? And that is, on the American Reversion channel, I talk about what we can do politically. Now you might say, well, if you don't think that there's anything that can be done, then why do you even bother talking about what can be done politically? And besides that, you're a fool, because if you think anything can be done politically, you're an idiot. You haven't been paying attention, and this and that and this and that. Well, I do that because I continue to be I don't stop fighting. Let me put it that way. I don't stop fighting appropriately. As long as an avenue is available to me to try to have an effect, a positive effect on a problem, I will take it. If I didn't, I'd just go around slapping people all day long, right? Because, some you'd like to, but that's not the way to do it until a certain point. And I'm not one of those people that say that point to go kinetic. I'm not one of those that says it's time to do that. I never have been. Never have been. Will there be a time? Yeah. What will that time be? I'm not going to say. It's going to be different for me than it is for you. So why do I talk about those things on American Reversion? Because I don't think you stop playing the game just because you're behind. And I've seen the other side be successful at politics. The reason that we're not is because we're not unified. But I'm still going to be involved, because not to be involved, there's an old saying that silence always helps the oppressor, never the oppressed. And Edmund Burke's famous saying, all that's necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Well, I've always said that if evil is afoot, if somebody does nothing, they're not good. How can they be good if they see evil and they don't try to stop it? So being involved in the political process is the way that you try to stop it before it gets to the point to where it can't be stopped and you got to do something else to stop it. Anyway, that's off on the political. But if you want to get into that over on American Reversion, that's where it is. What I'm doing, what you should do. What I'm doing and what you should do is exactly, if you have been preparing, prepare even more. I mean, we've said this before. Prepare even more. Basic and then multifaceted and extensive preparedness, as I detail in this book series, is what will enable you to survive whatever, hopefully, let me put it this way, give you a chance to survive living a good life, whatever's coming. And just surviving whatever's coming, that's not enough. You want to be able to live a good life. So whatever you do to try to separate yourself, divorce yourself as completely as possible from your dependence on external, interrelated systems over which you have little or no control. That means your food, that means your water, that means your security, that means your shelter, that means your food production, that means your heat, that means all of those things. The more you can do, and somebody's going to come on and say, it's impossible to be fully separated from the system. Well, there are people who are fully separated from the system, so you're wrong. Now, is it possible to be fully separated from the system and still live the kind of life that you're living right now, to be able to run down to the Quick Trip? And no, it's not. Or to buy online, or to what? No, it's not. It's not. And there's nothing wrong with participating in the system to whatever degree you want to while the system is there. But you have to be prepared for parts of those systems, if not all of those systems, to be taken away from you. What if all of a sudden your bank shuts down your accounts? What all of a sudden if the power goes out in your area in order to do whatever, right? What happens if all of a sudden, well, I'm not going to go into all, I could go on all day about that. You just have to, think about all those things. Most of you have thought about all those things. If you're fairly new here, just go back and watch some other videos. You have to be ready for any eventuality. Watch what happens during a true civil war. And that's when, it's not what they called the Civil War back then, because you heard me refer to that as the War of Northern Aggression. It was the United States of America attacking and invading a sovereign country, because the South had already seceded and withdrawn, which was their exact right to do. But a civil war is when two sides are fighting over control of the same government. Could we see that? We will see. We will see. But you need to better prepare yourself to be able to survive no matter what. And you really need to use your imagination. That, again, I keep holding these up. This is why I wrote these books. It's impossible to cover all this stuff in, a 30-minute video, or even 500 30-minute videos. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of preparation. And if you're just getting into this, if you're just starting your preparedness journey, don't worry. Just get started. Get started. You'll build on it. You'll build on it. You'll build on it. One of the most preparedness-minded people that I know right now is a good friend of mine. It took me years to get him to buy a gun. and now he is one of the most preparedness-minded people I know. I'll tell you his story in another one. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to get off here because I'm going to make another one for American Reversion. More about the political stuff. And if you want to join us over there, like I say, the link is down below. If you are interested in the political side, you should be over there too. We prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. The future looks tumultuous. The future looks uncertain. The future looks challenging. How well do you want to live during those challenges and those uncertainties? Well, that's going to depend on how well you prepare now. So I would suggest you get out there today and you do something. You do whatever you can today. You don't do it out of fear. Just go out and say, things are getting dicey. Go out and do something to improve your preparedness stance. You'll be glad you did, because a storm is coming. All right. You all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.